Okay, AP Art and Design. I wanted to take a moment to talk with you about your sketchbooks. They are a very important part of this class. They are required by College Board and they do need to meet certain criteria. So I want to go through that with you. The very first thing that I want you to start paying attention to are the things that inspire you. This is going to help you help lead you to your sustained investigation, your idea for your sustained investigation, and your passions to create artwork and to create a focused body of artwork. So I want your first sketches that you complete for me within this first month to really kind of explore that. What are the things that inspire you, that really move you, really give you energy or emotions, and something that captures, your passion. So I want to just start off with that. Start thinking about that and being able to identify all of your inspirations. Now getting down to the actual sketchbook entries. I want to give you some tips. Here are a few tips that are just kind of an overview. They're kind of broad. But the first one is try to get in the habit of recording every day. Also, let it be more than just sketches. So we call it a sketchbook, but I don't want you to think that that is its only purpose. You have a sketchbook that has 240 pages in it. That is way more than what we will need for this class. So it is okay. Allow it to be other things. It could be your journal. It could also be a to-do list. You could maybe fulfill, some writing assignments in there for an English class or just straight up doodling. I am okay with this sketchbook incorporating other things and other thoughts that are, maybe unrelated to this class. The reason for that is it generates ideas. I want it to become a part of you. Your sketches and your sketchbook will be stronger if it is something you can really integrate into your life. When I say record every day, the other thing that I mean is that a sketchbook entry doesn't have to be done in one sitting. We will go over this, but you will have a sketchbook entry due every single week. So you have a whole week to complete a sketchbook entry. That doesn't have to be done within one sitting. You could work on it all week. And at the end of the week, it could be a compiling or a composition of multiple ideas and thoughts, or maybe just one complete thought, but something you worked on a little bit every day. So don't think of it as, a burden, as a piece of homework that you have to sit down and focus on for an hour and a half, start to finish. Okay. The other thing I want you to do is to relax about it. This is a sketchbook, and even though there are certain criteria, this is not a finished work of art. And if you don't let yourself go and let yourself be very loose and free and almost have like open stream of consciousness, then your sketches are not going to um, look like complete thoughts. They're not going to document journeys. They're not going to be evidence of your thoughts and your thinking and your creativity. And that's what it needs to be. So I want you to relax. You can cross things out. You can cover things up. The only thing I ask is you don't ever tear pages out. Okay? If you have a page that you just think is an awful drawing or doodle or sketchbook entry, who cares? Leave it be. Let it stay in there because you know what? It's still a thought and it's still an idea that can be built upon later. So leave it in and just let it be. Okay? I also said that I really encourage you to write in your sketchbook. It can be a diary, it can be a journal, it can be, something that is like a stream of consciousness. It could be brainstorming, but writing in your sketchbook is also important. It shouldn't just only be pictures. Um, the other thing I want you to be aware of is that your sketchbook is extremely private. This is only something that is between you and I only look at the page that you are turning in for me to grade for your weekly sketchbook entries, okay? I promise you I will not be thumbing through your entire book and, making judgments and forming opinions. I honor an artist's mind and the need to write things down and draw things out, and that will remain completely private between us. To be upfront and honest, the absolute only time that I cannot leave something private is if you are conveying messages of either being suicidal or homicidal. So those two things are, the two things I can't keep private. I am a mandated reporter, and it is my job to, make sure that everybody is safe. But other than that, go for it. It doesn't always have to be G-rated. If you need to express curse words, then so be it. But I want you to know that you have that freedom and you have that privacy. It's also important to get in the habit of dating your pages, just so you can kind of have a chronological timeline. When you are in the habit of keeping sketchbooks for years and years and years, then I think it's really important to be able to go back and look at dates. And I can definitely say that for myself because I have every single sketchbook that I've ever owned. I still have it. And I still have my sketchbooks from high school and all throughout college. Once in a while, I love thumbing through them and looking back at my thoughts and my development. And there are many, many times that I wish those pages were dated. So go ahead and get in that habit. I also want you to personalize it. This is yours and it should represent you in some way. So whether it's personalizing it on the inside or personalizing it on the outside, doing something to the cover, whatever it is that's going to make you feel connected to it. All right, now I want to give you a few more tips, but a little bit more precise, and give a little bit more explanation. Um, A really great tip is dividing up your page in your sketchbook. You don't always have to do this. Sometimes your sketchbook entry may be, one absolute complete drawing, but oftentimes it's a bunch of thoughts and recordings and drawings and experiments and writings, all in one entry. So having an entire blank page can sometimes feel too expansive. So break it down. You can draw boxes on your page, or you can draw other shapes, and then there could be drawings or annotations and notes that go within those boxes. You can add to the pages. You can stick post-it notes on it, or you can glue, other papers so that you have, kind of like a paper that is like a peekaboo paper. But if you break up that expansive blank page into smaller parts, then that might help you generate ideas and not feel so intimidated. The other way to get over intimidation of, opening it up and having this big blank page to deal with is just going ahead and getting a jump start on your pages and maybe just putting down some backgrounds. Maybe for like the next 3 or 4 sketchbook entries, you're going to go ahead and like, you know, paint some backgrounds on there, or you're going to collage some decorative papers around the border, or you're going to collage like some newspaper print for the background, for when you do, some painting in there or some drawing in there. It'll make the page less feel like it's less blank, less, white, and it might help kickstart some designs for you. Okay, you really need to use your sketchbook and your sketchbook entries that you turn in as your place for experimentation. I cannot stress this enough. As an AP Art and Design student, you should be experimenting all the time and asking a lot of what if questions. This is where you record all of that. So if you are interested in playing around with a new material, maybe you've never worked with oil pastels before, well, an entire sketchbook entry can be you testing out the oil pastels, seeing what they can do, experimenting with your ideas with them. If you have never drawn hands before, like this example up here, this sketchbook entry is a study of the hand, the anatomy of the human hand. So this person, did research and really kind of looked at the skeletal anatomy of the hand. And then, she started drawing the hands in different positions, and then she experimented with color tones and values. So, this is a real experimentation page, but it was a necessary practice and study for her art piece, because you definitely don't want to do all the experimenting in your art piece. You want to work out all of those difficulties and all of those ideas and all of those techniques in your sketchbook first. Collage is huge for sketchbooks. We don't always need to feel responsible for drawing everything in our sketchbook. I really, really highly encourage you to do some collaging. Collaging can come from anywhere. I mean, it could come from magazines, it can come from newspapers, it could just be decorative patterned papers that you want to work with. It could be images you find online that you then print out, and then you cut them up and collage them into your sketchbook. Okay, so I really encourage it. It's very important. It helps your research. It helps, if you're wanting to be accurate for drawing a rose or drawing a facial expression, then you need something to go off of. And so that should be in your sketchbook. This artist up here was researching facial features. And so she collaged a whole bunch of faces that she found in a magazine. And then the page next to it, she's trying to draw things out, trying to draw the different expressions of the lips, the different looks within the eyes. Okay, so please incorporate collage. Now that I've gone over some tips for working with your sketchbook, I want to get more detailed and explain to you the actual requirements for your sketchbook. When I collect them, what exactly am I looking for, so that you can always meet that expectation and get a good grade. The first requirement is that your entries have to be full page layouts. So when you open up your sketchbook, your entry has to contain the left and the right side of the page. I will not accept half pages. Okay, you will not get the points for that weekly entry. It has to be full page. There's a big reason for it. Number one, that is what is going to make some of your sketchbook entries eligible to be good enough to maybe have a slot in your actual portfolio. Okay, you want those opportunities. I cannot stress that enough. Every single one of my AP Art and Design students, at least 98, 99% of them, used a strong sketchbook entry somewhere in their final portfolio. So you don't want to miss out on those opportunities. It's important, and therefore make sure they are full page open layouts. Annotations. Annotations are another requirement. They have to exist. Your images, your plans, your thoughts and ideas need to be in your sketchbook both visually but also written out so that I can actually read your thinking processes. Okay, it needs to be somewhat of a conversation, or you at least explaining to me what the images represent, what you're thinking about. I can't always tell from a drawing, and this is how I coach you, by looking at your sketchbook, understanding your goals and your thinking, and what you're trying to achieve, and then I help coach you um, towards making strong artwork based off of that. If I don't understand your sketches, if it's not making sense to me or not clear to me, then I do not know how to coach your final artwork. I don't know how to give you suggestions and help push you in the right direction. So annotations are not only for me, but honestly, they also help you. They help you process your own thoughts and ideas. And even more so, it will help you with the steps that you need to take to complete a work of art. And again, you want those things worked out before you start that actual, final project. So annotations are also beneficial to you. The other requirement is you need to fill the page, okay? You cannot leave a ton or 50%, negative space. You can't draw teeny tiny little drawings and then the rest of the page is blank. That will never, ever, ever cut it as a sketchbook entry that can be considered for a final portfolio. So again, we are working very hard to make strong sketchbook entries to ensure that they could be possibilities for your final portfolio. I just put a couple examples up here of, a portfolio entry that just has too much negative space. This could never be a contender for your portfolio. But I wanted to show you a similar sketchbook entry in the sense that it's both of them are just pencil. There's no other, colors or collaging or mediums. So both using pencil, but by making sure that all of the negative space has been used up makes it such a stronger sketchbook entry. And I do want to encourage some variety. I am not going to require it all the time because, like the last slide I showed you, sometimes just using graphite in a sketchbook entry can be absolutely stunning and can completely fulfill the requirements for your sketchbook entry. So I don't always want to dictate that you need to use some variety. But if you are never experimenting with any sort of variety, then we're going to have a problem. Okay? Variety can mean anything. It could be um, changing your mediums. It could be working with paint and instead of a pencil, drawing with marker, or working with pasting and collaging. But even if you're just using pasting and collaging to kind of decorate the page or create a border around the page, instead of just using one pencil, what if you used colored pencils or colored pens? Um, Again, what if you set up the background with watercolor paint and then you drew on top of that, so you have kind of this nice background, and then you can have a graphite drawing on top of it. Um, you get my point. Try to incorporate a little bit of variety in some of your sketchbook entries. I will be looking for that. Okay, so outlining just grading and weekly due dates, and this has been modified for our hybrid and our remote plan. So sketchbook entries are due weekly, and they're going to be due every Friday. You're going to turn in your sketchbook every Friday by 3 p.m. That will get you your points, and that will also count for your attendance. So if Friday comes and it's 5 o'clock and I don't have that sketchbook entry, then not only do you lose those points, but you're also then marked absent for that day. So it's a double whammy. Be very careful. The other thing you should know is that if you miss a sketchbook entry and you don't turn it in, then you don't get to turn it in late. The only way you get to turn it in late is if you have, a medical excuse or an illness that has been called in by, a parent or guardian. That is an excused absence. If you have an excused absence, then on Monday, your sketchbook is due. Okay, or the next time that you are attending school. So again, be careful. You don't get to make those up. It becomes a zero and it stays a zero if you've just forgotten. Okay. The sketchbook entry will be turned into Google Classroom. So I will always have it as an assignment in Google Classroom, and you will turn it in into that assignment. The way that we do it is you can use your phone to take a photograph of your full page sketchbook entry. You upload that image into your drive, and then you attach that image into the assignment and turn it in. That's how it gets turned in and how you get your points and how you get your attendance. Even though you are turning your sketchbooks in on Friday, I do want you to also be in the habit to bring your sketchbooks to school on the days that you come to school. I will often ask you to pull it out. Can I see your sketch? Let me see your sketch. If you're trying to work on something and I need to reference your original plan or your original idea, I'm going to ask you to pull out your sketchbook. If you never have it, that's a problem, because then I don't know what you're thinking, I don't know what you're trying to achieve, and I cannot coach you. I also want you to bring your sketchbook because remember, this should be a multi-purpose thing in your life. So you can use it to take notes in class. So I just want you to, be in that habit, and plus your sketchbook is something you should carry with you to many places. We have creative thoughts, we have ideas that spontaneously come into our brain, and it's always good to have your sketchbook handy. Or there are times when you have downtime and you weren't expecting it. If you are, in a class that maybe has a sub and you're watching an irrelevant movie, well, pull out your sketchbook and you can be thinking about some artworks or practicing, you know, drawing hands or whatever it is you are trying to experiment with. Okay. And just so you know, sketchbooks are worth 20 points a week. It adds up really fast. You decide if that's going to be easy points that you get every week by turning it in and meeting the criteria and building up a bunch of, A pluses in your Skyward, or is it going to wind up hurting you because you missed a couple days, a couple of Fridays, and you forgot to turn it in? Well, now 2 zeros are really hurting your Skyward grade. So it is absolutely up to you, but they're worth 20 points every Friday. So I hope that this helped you. I hope it clarified a couple of things. Of course, I will continue to give you suggestions and let you know how you can make improvements, and encourage you to strive to do better. But this is a good jumping off point, and your first sketchbook entry is due this Friday, and there will be an assignment posted for you to complete that. So good luck.